Good morning. Hayom Yom, Nissan, Erev Pesach. So the Rebbe tells us three things in today's Hayom Yom. The first thing is that on the evening of Erev Pesach, you should first daven Maariv and only then check for the Chametz. And this is taken from Shulchan Orach, Chayim, Siman Taf Lamed Aleph, 431. And actually, what the Alter Rebbe writes there is that you are not meant to do anything before you check for the Chametz. You're not allowed to eat. You're not even allowed to study Torah. And he says, really, you shouldn't be allowed to daven Maariv first. There's only two exceptions when you can daven Maariv first. The first is if you're davening with a minyan, because it would be too much of a hassle to have everyone go home and then come back to daven. So because of that, we let you daven first and only then deal with the chametz. The second exception, even if you're not davening with a minyan but you're at home, he says if you don't usually daven Maariv at home, it's not what you usually do, then you're allowed to daven Maariv first and only then do the chametz. Because since you don't usually daven Maariv this way, you might forget to do it later. So we let you do it at the first possible opportunity, and then you can do the chametz. But the Alter Rebbe basically says that if you usually daven Maariv at home, if this is something you regularly do, then you first have to do the chametz and only then can do the Maariv. As opposed to the Rebbe here seems to lay down the blanket rule that regardless, you should always do Maariv first and only then chametz. So there's a lot of sources to be consulted, many Chabad sources, but that's that. The second thing the Rebbe tells us is that for a long time throughout Jewish history, when Pesach was coming and people needed to get rid of the chametz, so they would get rid of it by selling it to a guy. Either directly selling it to a guy, or if that was too much of a hassle to set up, they would use a shliach. They would do it through a rabbi. But actually, that's a little bit halakhically questionable, because halakhically, a guy cannot acquire property as easily as a Jew can. So in this case, when the guy is buying it on credit, he's not actually paying up for the chametz, and you plan on getting it back from him, the whole sale is a little bit halakhically questionable. And it's very, very important that you really sell away your chametz, because having chametz on Pesach is a huge, huge isser. So because of that, a halachic solution was offered by introducing the Aruch Kavlan. And what that means is that if I would sell my chametz to a guy, I would have another Jew step in and serve as a financial guarantor for the guy. What that means is, instead of me needing to go to the guy to get my money, I can go to this Jew to get my money. In other words, this Jew is paying for the guy's chametz. And why that helps is because since the Jew is paying for the chametz, the Jew is buying it on credit, a Jew can acquire property more easily. And a Jew buying something on credit really works as a kinyan, really helps him acquire it. So therefore, by him buying it on credit, I get rid of the chametz. Someone has bought it off me. But the chametz doesn't go to that Jew, which would be a problem in its own right. The chametz goes to the guy, because that Jew is buying it for the guy. So that was the halachic solution offered that we use till today. The Rebbe tells us, though, that Beis Rebbe, the Rabbeim and their families, wouldn't use this heter. They would be even stricter. Instead of just using an Aruch Kavlan, they would actually sell the chametz off entirely to another Jew. They would totally sell the chametz to the rabbi, and then let the rabbi sell it away by using the Aruch Kavlan method. But that's the second thing the Rebbe tells us. The third thing the Rebbe tells us is there is a concept in Judaism known as Matzah Shmura, or Shmura Matzah, which actually comes from the Chumash. When it's talking about matzah, it says, Ushmartem es matzahs. You should guard the matzahs. And what this means is that the matzahs we use on Pesach need to be specially overseen and supervised and guarded to make sure that at every stage of the process, it never ever becomes chametz. You need to take all kinds of extra stringencies. And this is the matzah that we use on Pesach. Now, there's a Jewish custom which is not so practical for most people to keep nowadays, but the custom is that the matzah that you use by the actual Seder, the matzah that you use to fulfill the mitzvah of matzah, should be baked on Erev Pesach, on the day before Pesach, on the early afternoon. And actually in the temple, that is the time that they would offer the carbon Pesach, the Pesach sacrifice. And while they were offering the carbon Pesach, they would be singing Hallel in the background. And therefore the custom is to, in place of the carbon Pesach, basically to bake this matzah in the early afternoon on Erev Pesach and to be saying Hallel in the background. And the Rebbe tells us that the Rebbe Rashab, the fifth Chabad Rebbe, used to be present while this special matzah was being baked on Erev Pesach, and he would say the Hallel there. But, says the Rebbe, he would interrupt the Hallel, he would stop even in the middle of a portion in a paragraph to give them instructions and oversee things and tell them different things about the baking process. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.